Hey guys, tonight we take a little detour from reality, a shimmering detour into a world that might have been. Imagine you're standing on a boulevard in the heart of the Mojave Desert, under a canopy of stars so bright they seem to crackle. The air is warm, dry, and thrumming with an electric energy, but something's different. The familiar chorus of slot machines, the clatter of chips, is absent. Tonight, we're exploring a Las Vegas that never became Sin City, a Vegas where the glittering promise of entertainment was built on entirely different sands. You probably won't survive this trip with your preconceived notions of Vegas intact. We're peeling back the neon to find a different kind of oasis. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. As always, I'm curious to see where you're all joining from, so pop your location and local time in the comments. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You find yourself on what feels, unmistakably, like the Las Vegas Strip. The sheer scale of it, the audacity of this vibrant human endeavor blazing against the dark, majestic backdrop of the desert mountains, is instantly familiar. Yet, as your senses adjust, the absence of something fundamental becomes strikingly apparent. There are no colossal, windowless casino palaces dominating the skyline, no giant screens flashing progressive jackpot numbers, no throngs of people spilling out of gaming floors with that peculiar mixture of hope and dazed resignation. The air, while still alive with energy, carries different sounds, perhaps the distant thrum of a spectacular outdoor concert, the laughter from al fresco dining patios, the whoosh of a silent, levitating transit system gliding above the boulevard. The glitter is still here. Oh yes, this is still very much a city built to dazzle after dark, but it's a glitter born from a different source, a promise whispered on different winds. Why would such a city, a beacon of nocturnal entertainment, even exist here in the harsh, arid expanse of the Mojave Desert, if not for the lure of the gamble? It's a fair question. In our timeline, of course, Nevada's legalization of gambling in 1931 was the catalyst that transformed a dusty railway town into the global entertainment capital we know. But let's imagine a slight divergence in history. Perhaps that legalization never happened, or it took a far more restrictive form. Yet, the fundamental ingredients for a unique kind of resort city were already present. Its location, a convenient stopover point between Southern California and the Intermountain West, was strategic. The construction of the nearby Hoover Dam in the 1930s brought a massive influx of workers and, subsequently, tourists eager to see this modern marvel of engineering. Historians often point to the Hoover Dam project. You recall your inner academic voice beginning, its tone already set for a long night, as a pivotal moment for Las Vegas, providing not just essential water and power, but also its first real taste of mass tourism and the economic potential of catering to visitors. Even without casinos, this influx could have planted the seed for a different kind of desert flower to bloom. What if, in this alternate reality, those early visitors, instead of finding nascent gambling halls, discovered a different kind of allure? Perhaps the dry desert air and year-round sunshine, well, mostly sunshine with occasional biblical-style heat waves, attracted entrepreneurs focused on health and wellness, establishing sprawling sanatoriums and spas dedicated to an almost mystical desert cure. Or maybe the stark, dramatic beauty of the surrounding landscape, the Red Rock Canyon. The Valley of Fire drew a bohemian colony of artists, writers, and filmmakers, eager to capture its unique light and spirit. Imagine a Vegas that became a Hollywood outpost, not for its permissive vices, but for its stunning natural backdrops and reliable sunshine. A place where epic westerns or sweeping desert romances were filmed under the stars. The initial glitter, then, might have come not from slot machines, but from Klieg lights and the nascent glamour of a desert film industry. In this Vegas, the only one-armed bandits you're likely to encounter are probably just very enthusiastic, and possibly slightly arthritic, film directors gesticulating wildly about their artistic vision. You take your first stroll down this reimagined strip as night truly takes hold. The sky above is a velvet canvas, punched with an impossible number of stars, a spectacle undimmed by the kind of light pollution that massive, always-on casino signage would typically generate. Instead, The illumination here is more artistic, more curated. Buildings, still grand and architecturally ambitious, might feature intricate light shows that play across their facades, telling stories or creating shifting abstract patterns. The light isn't there to scream "win big." It's there to enchant, to transform the urban environment into a living art installation. Perhaps massive, bioluminescent sculptures rise from landscaped gardens, or holographic projections dance in the dry desert air. The most scandalous thing currently happening on this particular iteration of the strip, you suspect, is probably someone attempting to sneak an extra, uncredited olive into their artisanal martini at one of the rooftop lounges. The sheer, unadulterated civility of it all is almost disorienting. You read a quirky tidbit once about an early, rather outlandish proposal for a non-gambling attraction in a desert environment. It involved creating a series of enormous, climate-controlled biodomes, each replicating a different global ecosystem, a sort of Epcot Center for extreme botany. While that specific idea might have been a bit much even for this alternate Vegas, it speaks to the kind of ambitious, slightly bonkers thinking that a desert oasis dedicated purely to spectacle might foster. Perhaps here, instead of a biodome, they built the world's largest nocturnal botanical garden, specializing in desert plants that only bloom under the moonlight, their ghostly flowers attracting equally ethereal desert moths, the whole thing illuminated by carefully placed bioluminescence mimicking lights. You make a mental note to check if they have a gift shop selling glow-in-the-dark cactus enthusiast t-shirts. As you walk, you observe the people around you. They are here, just as in our Vegas, to escape, to be entertained, to experience something beyond their everyday lives. But their focus seems different. There's less of that frantic, hopeful energy you'd associate with a casino crowd, less of the desperate clutching of chips or pulling of levers. Instead, you see groups heading towards grand theaters, couples strolling hand in hand admiring the light art, families laughing as they emerge from what looks like an incredibly immersive virtual reality pavilion. They are seeking spectacle, beauty, shared experiences, perhaps a touch of wonder. Urban planners and cultural historians, that familiar voice in your ear pipes up, clearly settling in for the long haul, still argue whether entertainment cities primarily reflect pre-existing societal desires for leisure and escapism, or if they actively shape and even create new forms of leisure, consumption, and social interaction through their uniquely curated and often highly artificial environments. This Vegas certainly feels curated, but towards a different kind of human desire, perhaps the desire for awe without the anxiety of the wager. The desert itself seems to play a more prominent, more respected role in this alternate Las Vegas. While the Strip is still an oasis of human ingenuity, there's a sense that it exists in a more harmonious dialogue with its surroundings. Perhaps the architecture incorporates more natural materials, or there are vast, open-air plazas designed for stargazing, or educational centers dedicated to the unique ecology of the Mojave. The city isn't just fighting the desert. It's embracing its stark beauty, its profound silence, its deep, ancient rhythms. The loudest sound you hear for a full minute isn't the relentless, Pavlovian ding-ding-ding of 1,000 slot machines hoping to stimulate your dopamine receptors, but possibly just an overly enthusiastic and surprisingly well-amplified cricket giving a solo performance from a nearby xeriscaped planter. It's a different kind of wild. The promise of the night in this Vegas is not about beating the odds or the intoxicating thrill of a potential jackpot. It's about immersing yourself in human creativity, in technological marvels, in artistic expression, in shared moments of wonder. The glittering promise of this desert dream is built on a foundation of spectacle for spectacle's sake, of entertainment designed to elevate the spirit rather than empty the pockets. As you stand at the threshold of this reimagined city, the familiar name Las Vegas still conjures a sense of excitement, of extraordinary possibilities, but the source of that magic feels cleaner, brighter, rooted in something other than the fickle whims of Lady Luck. You take another breath of the warm desert air, a sense of anticipation building. This is going to be an interesting night. The initial impression of this reimagined Las Vegas, a city shimmering with an artistic, rather than an avaricious, glow, has certainly piqued your curiosity. You've walked a strip transformed, where the grand buildings hint at different kinds of spectacle, and the very air seems cleaner, somehow less charged with the frantic energy of 1,000 desperate wagers. Now, drawn by whispers of a unique nocturnal artistry, you find yourself venturing just beyond the main thoroughfare, perhaps to the city's periphery where the meticulously planned urban environment begins to soften and bleed into the raw, untamed beauty of the Mojave Desert. It is here, under a canopy of stars that blaze with an almost forgotten intensity, that you are about to witness one of this Vegas's signature forms of entertainment, the neon naturescapes. This isn't about simply floodlighting a few interesting rock formations or stringing fairy lights through a cactus patch. Oh no, what unfolds before you is far more ambitious, a breathtaking fusion of cutting-edge technology, visionary artistry, and the ancient, stoic grandeur of the desert itself. Imagine vast swathes of the natural landscape, towering sandstone cliffs, fields of uniquely sculpted boulders, groves of hardy desert flora like Joshua trees and ocotillos, all transformed into living canvases for light. These aren't garish, casino-style neon signs designed to scream for your attention and your wallet. This is light used with the precision and soul of a master painter, light that whispers, that dances, that transforms the familiar into the utterly magical. Some of these installations are so jaw-droppingly intricate, you can't help but suspect they were secretly commissioned by a clandestine society of desert spirits who finally got tired of their landscape looking a bit drab after sunset and decided to hire some very talented, very discreet human lighting designers. As true darkness descends, the show begins. Miles of fiber optics, perhaps, laid with painstaking care along the natural contours of the land, begin to glow with soft, shifting colors, outlining ancient geological strata in hues of sapphire, emerald, and amethyst. Projection mapping, on a scale you've never imagined, turns sheer cliff faces into colossal, ephemeral murals, one moment depicting the slow, geological crawl of time, the next, a vibrant tapestry of indigenous desert petroglyphs brought to shimmering, animated life. You see fields of what appear to be thousands of delicate, ground-planted lights, each individually programmed, creating vast, undulating waves of color that mimic a phantom ocean flowing across the desert floor, or perhaps the slow, pulsing breath of the earth itself. You spot a particularly majestic saguaro cactus, its arms outstretched as if in supplication or embrace, now bathed in a gently pulsing sequence of rainbow lights. It looks less like a piece of arid botany and more like it's hosting its own very exclusive, very silent disco, and you're half tempted to see if it takes requests. The atmosphere created is hypnotic, almost reverent. In some areas, the light show is accompanied by subtle, ambient soundscapes, perhaps the deep, resonant tones of ancient desert instruments, the soft whisper of wind chimes tuned to haunting, unfamiliar scales, or even electronically generated music that seems to rise from the earth itself. In other places, there is only a profound silence, broken only by the chirp of crickets or the distant yip of a coyote, allowing the visual spectacle to commune directly with the vast, starlit emptiness of the desert night. It's a far cry from the relentless jingle-jangle of a casino floor. This is designed to soothe the soul, to inspire awe, to reconnect you with a sense of wonder, rather than to stimulate your adrenaline and loosen your purse strings. The use of artificial light to create spectacle in the landscape is not an entirely new idea, of course. Historians of technology and art often point to the great international expositions and world's fairs of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Your internal academic, ever ready with a pertinent fact, chimes in, as pivotal moments in the public display of electric light. Buildings, fountains, and entire fairgrounds were illuminated with breathtaking extravagance, demonstrating not just technological prowess but also creating a new kind of nighttime magic and urban spectacle. What you're witnessing here feels like a spiritual descendant of that tradition, but refined, integrated with nature, and elevated to a high art form. The technology is clearly cutting edge, perhaps it's all solar-powered, drawing its energy from the same desert sun that dictates life here. Maybe some installations use bioluminescent mimicking compounds that charge during the day and release their gentle glow at night, or employ sophisticated sensors that allow the light patterns to subtly shift in response to changes in wind, temperature, or even the ambient sounds of the desert. You wander through a canyon where hidden projectors cast intricate, lace-like patterns of light that seem to grow and retract across the rock walls, like ghostly desert flora blooming and fading in accelerated time. You hear a local legend, whispered from one group of awestruck visitors to another, about this particular installation. Apparently, it's said that the patterns aren't programmed by humans at all, but are painted each night by the ancient spirits of the canyon, who have learned to manipulate stray beams of captured moonlight and starlight with the aid of specially attuned crystals embedded deep within the rock. It's a lovely thought, and looking at the ethereal, ever-changing display, it doesn't seem entirely impossible. You overhear someone nearby, clearly a seasoned visitor, remark to their companion, "Oh, you must see the Whispering Rocks installation over by Tortoise Ridge. It's only truly active during a meteor shower, and they say the patterns it makes then can actually predict next year's wildflower superbloom. Or possibly just what's going to be on special at the all-night alien-themed diner." The spirits are notoriously vague on specifics. Some of these neon naturescapes are interactive. You come across a grove of what look like metallic, stylized trees, their branches tipped with responsive LED nodes. As you walk among them, your movement, the sound of your voice, even perhaps data gathered from a discrete wristband given to visitors, causes the lights to shift, to swirl, to pulse in direct response, creating a personal, ephemeral light symphony. You spend a good 10 minutes attempting to conduct a particularly vibrant series of color changes with a series of increasingly dramatic arm waves, feeling like a slightly unhinged but very enthusiastic orchestral conductor leading an ensemble of sentient rainbows. Your attempt to spell out your name in glowing footprints across a pressure-sensitive light field results only in a series of abstract, vaguely insulting blobs, proving that artistic genius, even when aided by responsive technology, requires a certain finesse you may not currently possess. Art critics and environmental philosophers, your internal debater eagerly jumps in, rubbing its metaphorical hands with glee, still debate vociferously whether large-scale artificial light installations in otherwise pristine natural landscapes truly enhance our appreciation of nature, or if they inevitably detract from its intrinsic, unadorned beauty and potentially disrupt delicate nocturnal ecosystems. Is it a harmonious dialogue between human artistry and the natural world, or an arrogant imposition of technological spectacle? Looking around at the respectful hush of the other visitors, the way the light seems to reveal hidden textures and forms in the desert rather than merely painting over them, you lean towards the former, at least in this idealized alternate Vegas. It feels less like an imposition and more like a collaboration, a way of seeing the desert's soul illuminated. This artistic, almost spiritual use of light stands in such stark contrast to the commercial blaze of a casino-driven city. There, light is a tool of relentless marketing, of sensory bombardment designed to keep you awake, alert, and spending. Here, light is a medium for wonder, for contemplation, for a shared experience of beauty. This Las Vegas hasn't just eliminated the casinos. It has reimagined the very purpose of its nighttime illumination. It has taken the city's inherent love for spectacle, its desert-born need to shine brightly against the darkness, and channeled it into something that feels both breathtakingly modern and deeply connected to the ancient landscape it inhabits. The only jackpot you're likely to hit out here is perhaps stumbling upon a particularly philosophical desert tortoise who's also out admiring the light show and offers you some surprisingly insightful commentary on the transient nature of illuminated art versus the enduring majesty of, say, a really good rock. The desert night in this reinvented oasis is not a void to be filled with the artificial, hermetically sealed worlds of gambling halls. Instead, it has become a vast, open-air gallery, a canvas for a unique and evolving art form that celebrates the delicate interplay between human ingenuity and the profound, often austere, beauty of the natural world. As you stand there, bathed in the gentle, shifting glow of a canyon wall that seems to breathe with colored light, you feel a sense of peace, of wonder, that no clattering slot machine could ever hope to inspire. This truly is a different kind of brilliance. The ethereal glow of the neon naturescapes, those artistic love letters written in light to the silent, watchful desert, still shimmers in your mind's eye. But the thrumming energy of this reinvented Las Vegas now pulls you back from the contemplative beauty of its periphery towards the dazzling heart of its entertainment district. If the desert night offered a communion with artfully illuminated nature, the city center promises a different kind of nocturnal worship, a devotion to human spectacle on a scale so grand, so audacious, it borders on the divine. You find yourself drawn towards colossal structures, buildings that are less like mere theaters and more like modern-day cathedrals dedicated to the gods of performance, imagination, and sheer, unadulterated showmanship. The architecture itself is a statement. These are not demure, unassuming venues. Imagine theaters that seem to defy gravity, their facades adorned with dynamic sculptures that shift and morph with light and shadow, or structures built to resemble mythical beasts, ancient temples, or crystalline formations from an alien world. The entrances are grand, designed to make you feel as though you are stepping out of the ordinary and into a realm of pure fantasy even before the curtain rises. There's a palpable buzz in the air as crowds mill about, dressed in attire that ranges from casual comfort to glittering, opening night finery. The anticipation is a tangible thing, a shared hum of excitement for the wonders that await within these hallowed halls of make-believe. In this Las Vegas, you realize going to a show isn't just a casual night out. It's an event, a pilgrimage. The only ante required here is the price of your ticket and a willingness to suspend your disbelief until it's practically orbiting Mars. And the variety of shows on offer, it's staggering. This isn't just a row of Broadway reruns. The creative energy that, in our timeline, might have been poured into designing ever more elaborate casino experiences is here channeled entirely into live performance. You see advertisements for epic circuses that dwarf anything you've ever imagined. Think Cirque du Soleil. But if Cirque du Soleil had been given the budget of a small nation and access to alien anti-gravity technology, acrobats perform feats that seem to rewrite the laws of physics, soaring through cavernous auditoriums, interacting with holographic projections, their bodies a testament to the breathtaking potential of human strength and grace. The performers in these shows, you muse, probably don't have bones in the traditional sense. They likely have a sophisticated internal framework of highly polished titanium and concentrated willpower. Then there are the magic shows, illusions so technologically infused and psychologically astute that they leave you questioning the very fabric of reality. Entire buildings seem to vanish and reappear on stage. Performers teleport, transform, commune with what appear to be sentient beams of light, all with a theatrical flair that borders on the shamanistic. You attend one where the grand finale involves the lead illusionist appearing to make a sizable portion of the audience, say, sections D through F, gently float a few feet above their seats. It's all done with impeccable taste and a great deal of reassuring patter about perfectly safe, cutting-edge audience levitation techniques. But you can't help but make a mental note to book seats in Section C next time, just in case the regrounding mechanism has an off night. Large-scale immersive dramas unfold not just on a stage, but throughout entire specially designed environments, where the audience becomes part of the narrative, interacting with actors, making choices that influence the story's direction. You might wander through a meticulously recreated historical setting, or a fantastical alien cityscape, your own journey forming a unique thread in a larger, unfolding epic. And the dance, oh, the dance. You witness futuristic ballets where performers in motion capture suits generate dazzling real-time digital avatars that dance alongside them, a mesmerizing duet between flesh and light. Aquatic extravaganzas take place in colossal water stages, with synchronized swimmers, divers, and fantastical marine puppets weaving underwater narratives that are part Olympic sport, part mythological dream. You see a show featuring what appear to be actual, albeit very well-trained, narwhals performing a surprisingly poignant underwater ballet about the existential angst of single-horned cetaceans. Afterwards, you find yourself convinced that all land-based entertainment is now fundamentally inadequate. The sheer scale and ambition of these productions are rooted in a long human tradition of spectacle. Historians of entertainment, your inner academic, now comfortably reclining on a plush velvet seat in your mental theater, observes, trace the lineage of such grand public spectacles back to the Ludi of ancient Rome, the gladiatorial contests, chariot races, and mock naval battles held in colossal arenas like the Colosseum. Or consider the lavish court masks of the Baroque era in Europe, with their elaborate costumes, intricate machinery, and allegorical storytelling, designed to impress and delight the nobility. This Las Vegas, in its own unique way, is a direct inheritor of that desire to create overwhelming, unforgettable experiences, to push the boundaries of what is possible in live performance. The intermissions, you discover, are where the truly competitive action now takes place. A polite but determined full-contact scramble for the artisanal gelato stand in the lobby, which only serves flavors based on abstract philosophical concepts. You particularly recommend The Quiet Despair of a Tuesday Morning. It has a surprisingly zesty lemon-lavender finish. The performers themselves are a breed apart. They are not just actors, dancers, or acrobats. They are elite athletes of the imagination, dedicating their lives to achieving levels of skill and artistry that border on the superhuman. You catch a glimpse behind the scenes, perhaps in a documentary-style exhibit attached to one of the theaters, showing the years of relentless training, the intricate choreography, the symbiotic relationship between the performers and the vast teams of designers, engineers, and technicians who bring these spectacles to life. It's a city built on dreams, yes, but also on an incredible foundation of discipline, creativity, and sheer hard work. You hear a quirky, possibly apocryphal, tale about one legendary, in this alternate Vegas, of course, illusionist from a bygone era, Madame Esmeralda the Unfathomable, whose most famous trick involved making the entire Sphinx, a full-scale replica, naturally, built on the outskirts of the city, appear to sing opera for precisely 7 minutes every third Tuesday under a full moon. The trick, the legend goes, was never fully explained, but her official rider for the performance apparently included 12 perfectly ripe mangoes. A live badger, for inspiration, not participation, one hopes, and complete silence from any crickets within a 2-mile radius. Showbiz, you murmur to yourself, is a strange and wonderful beast, no matter which reality you're in. The special effects in the current shows are so astonishingly realistic that when a performer on stage appears to conjure a miniature, perfectly behaved thunderstorm cloud that then rains actual miniature, perfectly brewed Earl Grey tea into tiny porcelain cups, you just nod and think, well, that's efficient. Cultural critics and performance theorists, that familiar voice pipes up again, adjusting its metaphorical spectacles, still debate whether the increasing reliance on high-tech spectacle in modern entertainment, from massive LED screens to sophisticated robotics and augmented reality, ultimately enhances or potentially diminishes the core human elements of storytelling, live performance, and genuine emotional connection with the audience. Is it a dazzling aid or a glittering distraction? Watching the seamless integration of human skill and technological marvels in these shows, you feel it can be both, but here, in this Vegas, the emphasis often seems to be on using technology to elevate and amplify the human performer, to create experiences that are not just visually stunning but also emotionally resonant. These grand stages offer a profound form of escapism, a chance to step out of your everyday concerns and be transported to worlds of wonder, beauty, and breathtaking skill. The communal experience of gasping in unison with thousands of other people as an acrobat defies death, or feeling a collective wave of emotion during a particularly poignant scene, is a powerful reminder of our shared humanity. And how is all this spectacle funded, you wonder, in a city without the vast, steady river of casino revenue? Perhaps it's a combination of higher ticket prices for these unparalleled experiences, sophisticated global sponsorships, innovative resort packages where accommodation and show tickets are bundled, or even a small, dedicated city entertainment tax that everyone contributes to, recognizing these stages as a vital part of the city's soul and its unique global appeal. As you emerge from a theater, your mind still reeling from the sheer artistry and audacity of what you've just witnessed, you feel a sense of exhilaration, of having been touched by something truly extraordinary. The grandest stages of this Las Vegas are indeed altars, not to the fickle goddess of chance, but to the boundless potential of human imagination, creativity, and the relentless pursuit of awe. The nightly communions offered here are not of risky wagers, but of shared wonder, leaving you with a feeling of richness that no slot machine, however generous, could ever hope to provide. Emerging from the breathtaking grandeur of those colossal theaters, your mind still buzzing with the echoes of futuristic ballets and narwhal-based water symphonies, you find yourself ready to explore another cornerstone of this reinvented Las Vegas: its vast, incredibly imaginative resort worlds. In our timeline, the mega resorts of Vegas are inextricably linked to their sprawling casino floors. those glittering arenas of chance often forming the very heart and financial engine of each property. But here, in this Vegas built on different dreams, the resorts themselves have evolved into the primary attraction, each one a meticulously crafted, self-contained universe of non-gambling fantasy, designed to immerse you so completely that the outside world simply melts away. You step into the lobby of one such establishment, let's call it Ethelgard, Realm of the Sunken Moons, just to give it that appropriately epic, slightly unhinged fantasy novel vibe. The moment you cross the threshold, you are no longer in the Mojave Desert. The air changes, becoming cool and smelling faintly of exotic, unidentifiable blossoms and ancient, damp stone. The architecture is a bewildering, beautiful fusion of what looks like bioluminescent coral formations, towering crystalline structures that seem to pulse with internal light, and walkways that appear to float over shimmering, iridescent pools. Staff members glide by in costumes that are clearly inspired by some kind of elegant, highly advanced aquatic civilization. All flowing silks, mother-of-pearl adornments, and a general aura of serene, otherworldly competence. You check in, and the bellhop, whose pointed ears and subtly shimmering skin suggest he might be part amphibian, offers to convey your luggage to your kelp-woven cocoon suite, or, for a small additional fee, to serenade it there on a conch shell flute. You opt for the standard delivery, though the serenade is admittedly tempting. The power of theme here is absolute. Each resort is not just decorated according to a theme. It is the theme, from the grandest architectural statement down to the smallest detail, like the shape of the door handles or the ambient music that seems to emanate from the very walls. You might wander from Ethelgard into the neighboring Empyrean Citadel, a breathtaking recreation of a mythical sky kingdom, all soaring white towers, feathered sentinels, actors, you presume, though with the commitment levels here, you wouldn't be surprised if they'd actually sprouted wings, and pathways that seem to wind through clouds, achieved with some remarkably convincing and pleasantly scented atmospheric effects. Or perhaps you'll visit Kronos Station, a resort designed like a bustling, anachronistic Victorian-era spaceport, complete with steam-powered automatons, clanking brass machinery, and adventurers in pith helmets and goggles excitedly discussing their upcoming ether jaunts to Mars. The sheer dedication to immersion is astounding. You accidentally bump into a very stern-looking individual in the Empyrean Citadel dressed as a cloud guardian, and instead of a normal "excuse me," you find yourself stammering, "Apologies, O luminous sky warden, for my terrestrial clumsiness." He just nods sagely as if this is entirely normal, which, in this context, it probably is. And it's not just about looking the part. These resorts are packed with interactive experiences designed to draw you deeper into their narratives. In Ethelgard, you might find yourself participating in a quest to find the lost moon pearl of Eldoria, following cryptic clues embedded in ancient murals, interacting with costumed characters who offer riddles or assistance, the whole adventure culminating in a spectacular underwater, simulated, thankfully, light show that reveals the pearl. In Kronos Station, you could enroll in a course by Astronavigacja Wiktoriańskiej Epoki, Victorian Astronavigation Crash Course, learning to pilot a virtual steam-powered rocket ship through a field of very uncooperative asteroids, with a professor who looks suspiciously like a fugitive from a Jules Verne novel. The goal is total immersion, a chance to live out a fantasy, to become a character in a story for the duration of your stay. Your hotel room in the lost city of Atlantis themed resort, a classic, you imagine, even in this timeline, is so meticulously detailed, with bubbling water features, coral-shaped furniture, and walls that seem to shimmer with an underwater light, that you wake up half expecting to find tiny, inquisitive fish nibbling at your complimentary slippers, and you're pretty sure you're developing a taste for seaweed snacks. The history of such deliberately crafted, themed environments stretches back further than you might think. Cultural historians often point to the pleasure gardens of 17th and 18th century Europe, like Vauxhall Gardens in London. Your internal academic, clearly enjoying this particular topic, explains, as early examples of immersive entertainment spaces. These gardens offered a curated blend of music, dining, artistic installations, and often a touch of romantic or exotic theming, designed to transport visitors away from their everyday lives. Then, of course, came the grand pavilions of the world's fairs, each a miniature, idealized representation of a distant land or a technological marvel. And later, the rise of theme parks like Disneyland, which truly mastered the art of creating fully immersive narrative worlds. This Las Vegas, it seems, has taken that concept and supercharged it, applying it to entire resort complexes aimed at a sophisticated adult audience seeking not just rides, but rich, multisensory escapism. You read about a particularly quirky and sadly never built historical proposal for an automobile utopia in the 1950s, a city where everyone would live in personalized, themed mobile pods, constantly circulating and docking at various entertainment or service hubs. It sounds both wonderfully retrofuturistic and like a recipe for the world's most confusing traffic jam. But the spirit of total thematic immersion is definitely there. Even your accommodation is an integral part of the fantasy. Your kelp-woven cocoon suite in Ethelgard isn't just a room. It's an experience. The bed is shaped like a giant, iridescent clamshell. The lighting shifts subtly to mimic the deep ocean bioluminescence, and the Do Not Disturb sign is a small, carved piece of driftwood that you hang on a coral hook. Room service is delivered by someone in a flowing, pearl-encrusted robe, who addresses you as honored guest of the deeps. It's all delightfully, absurdly immersive. You try to find the coffee machine in your Victorian spaceport suite at Chrono Station and accidentally activate what appears to be a miniature, steam-belching orrery that projects a surprisingly accurate star chart of the 1888 Martian sky onto your ceiling. It doesn't help you find the coffee, but it's certainly a conversation starter. Architectural critics and urban sociologists, that familiar, slightly pedantic voice chimes in, still debate whether such heavily themed, artificial environments provide genuine, enriching escapism and imaginative stimulus, or if they merely create a sense of hyperreality and superficial consumerism, ultimately detaching individuals from more authentic cultural or natural experiences. Standing here in a resort that convincingly simulates being inside a sentient, benevolent crystal formation from the planet Zargal, complete with complimentary Zargonian fruit snacks that taste suspiciously like rebranded figs, you can see both sides of the argument. It's undeniably artificial, a triumph of design and technology over mundane reality, but it's also fun. It's a chance to play, to dream, to step outside yourself for a while. And in a world that often feels far too real, perhaps there's a genuine human need for such meticulously crafted unreality. The way these resorts integrate other forms of entertainment is seamless. The grand theaters you explored earlier are often housed within these themed worlds, their productions echoing or expanding upon the resort's narrative. The culinary constellations you'll explore later offer dining experiences that are themselves theatrical, themed events. Even the high-end retail outlets are designed to feel like emporiums from another time or place. The goal is to maintain the illusion, to ensure that every moment of your stay, from the moment you check in to the moment you reluctantly check out, contributes to the overarching fantasy. This Vegas hasn't just built hotels. It has built dreamscapes, interactive fictions on an architectural scale, proving that the most potent form of escapism doesn't require the spin of a roulette wheel, but the willing surrender of your imagination to a world built purely for wonder. You drift out of the meticulously crafted fantasy of Chrono Station, your mind still mildly boggled by the steam-powered automatons and the surprisingly competitive virtual asteroid navigation course. The sheer immersive power of these resort worlds is a potent form of escapism. Entire universes built for you to lose yourself in. But as evening deepens and a different kind of anticipation begins to stir in the warm desert air, you find yourself drawn towards another of this reinvented Las Vegas's most celebrated attractions. Its extraordinary, almost legendary, culinary scene. In a city that has dedicated itself so completely to the art of entertainment, it seems only natural that dining itself would be elevated to a headline act, a constellation of experiences designed to dazzle not just the palate, but all the senses. This isn't just a city with a few good restaurants. It's a global gastronomic capital, a place where chefs are revered like rock stars and a dinner reservation can be a hotter ticket than front-row seats to the most spectacular show. The absence of casino floors dominating every prime piece of real estate has, perhaps, allowed for a different kind of empire to flourish, an empire of taste, innovation, and utterly unforgettable dining experiences. You find yourself strolling down boulevards lined not with the beckoning glow of slot machines, but with the inviting warmth of restaurants whose facades hint at the culinary adventures within. The air, instead of carrying the faint metallic tang of coins, is rich with 1,000 tantalizing aromas, exotic spices, wood smoke, freshly baked bread, the sweet promise of desserts crafted with an artist's eye. You try a dish at one particularly cutting-edge establishment that involves cryo-poached heirloom tomato spheres, served on a bed of foraged desert herb essence, accompanied by what the menu describes as a whisper of ethically sourced, free-range air. It tastes surprisingly good, though you're still not entirely sure how one ethically sources air, or if it requires its own tiny, free-range air farm. Many restaurants take the immersive theming you experienced in the resorts and apply it with gusto to the dining experience itself. Imagine eating dinner inside what appears to be a gently active, entirely safe, simulated volcano, the walls glowing with molten light, the tables carved from obsidian, and the signature dessert arriving wreathed in theatrical smoke. Or perhaps you'll find yourself in an underwater grotto, surrounded by vast aquariums where colorful, otherworldly fish glide past as you sample seafood dishes that taste as if they were plucked from the ocean mere moments ago. The sommelier here doesn't just recommend wine pairings. They also offer advice on which particular kelp varietal infusion best complements the subtle umami of the bioluminescent plankton juice. It's all part of the show. You even hear about a restaurant themed like a king's medieval feast hall, where every 15 minutes a boisterous herald, complete with a ludicrously long trumpet, announces the arrival of another course, or possibly just that someone's double-parked their jousting horse outside. The presentation of the food is often as much a part of the experience as the taste. Dishes arrive looking like miniature sculptures, abstract paintings, or enchanted forest dioramas. Molecular gastronomy, that alchemical branch of cuisine that transforms familiar ingredients into surprising new textures and forms, is practiced here with a playful, theatrical flair. You might encounter caviar made from balsamic vinegar, soil crafted from dark rye and mushrooms, and surprisingly delicious, or foams and gels that evaporate on the tongue, leaving behind a pure, intense burst of flavor. It's food as performance art, food designed to make you gasp, to make you question, to make you smile. The rise of restaurant culture as a distinct form of public leisure and spectacle. Your internal academic, clearly a bit of a foodie, remarks between imaginary, perfectly composed bites, can be traced back to Paris in the late 18th and 19th centuries. It was then that dining out shifted from being a mere necessity for travelers to a sophisticated social ritual, an opportunity for both culinary exploration and public display. This Las Vegas, it seems, has taken that Parisian spirit and amplified it 1,000-fold, adding a hefty dose of desert-born showmanship. Beyond the theatrical, there's a deep commitment to an almost bewildering variety of global cuisines, often prepared with an unparalleled devotion to authenticity or, conversely, an equally passionate embrace of innovative fusion. You can find a tiny, unassuming stall serving the most perfect, most authentic bowl of ramen you've ever tasted, prepared by a chef who spent 30 years mastering that single dish in a remote Japanese village. And then, next door, you might discover a wildly experimental kitchen fusing ancient Aztec recipes with futuristic Martian farming techniques. Simulated, of course, you think. The sheer diversity is a testament to the city's global draw, attracting culinary talent from every corner of the earth, each eager to make their mark in this vibrant, food-focused ecosystem. You try the legendary singing saguaro soufflé at one particularly famous establishment, a local delicacy that, through some marvel of culinary engineering or possibly just very tiny, very well-trained hummingbirds hidden inside, actually emits a series of soft, melodic tones that change depending on the seasonal fruit compote it's served with. It's both delicious and slightly unnerving, and the tune it hums gets stuck in your head for the rest of the evening. You're not sure if it's a sign of culinary genius or a very subtle, very catchy form of dessert-based mind control. Food critics and cultural anthropologists, the academic voice muses, swirling an imaginary glass of very complex, ethically sourced air, still debate whether the increasing experientialization of dining, with its heightened emphasis on spectacle, narrative, and Instagrammability, truly elevates cuisine as an art form and a cultural expression, or if it sometimes distracts from the fundamental quality, provenance, and simple appreciation of the food itself. Is a dish better because it arrives in a cloud of theatrical nitrogen smoke? You ponder this as you delicately consume a dessert that is, in fact, arriving in a cloud of theatrical nitrogen smoke, shaped like a miniature, edible snow globe containing a tiny marzipan version of your own astonished face. The jury, you decide, is still out,